Before you is the footprint of a giant. This is a cast made from the original footprint, which was once part of the collection at the Texas Museum of Natural History and mysteriously disappeared from there in the mid-1960s. And now, pay attention. The rock in which the footprint was left dates back to the Mesozoic era, a time when giant lizards and dinosaurs inhabited the Earth. It belongs to a human about 16 feet 5 meters tall who lived on Earth approximately 80 million years ago during the Mesozoic era. This seems simply unbelievable. A human from the Mesozoic era, or are we looking at a skillful forgery? We have found out that several hundred similar footprints have been discovered on the planet. This imprint of a gigantic human foot is located in the very heart of the Ural Mountains, at the summit of Polyudov Ridge. What is it? A bizarre trick of nature or real evidence of the existence of giants? Researchers are convinced that this is one of the few authentic artifacts. Stones with hollows are called footprints. They are formed as a result of prolonged mechanical impact on the rock. The Ural Mountains were formed during the Mesozoic era. It seems that the American giants and the Siberian giants lived in the same era, approximately 80 million years ago. This is a Stegosaurus, the largest creature ever to have lived on Earth, a typical representative of Mesozoic fauna, and on this stone there is a depiction of a battle between humans and dinosaurs. Judging by the images, humans were not inferior to dinosaurs in either strength or size. The drawings on the Aika stones tell us the whole truth about the Mesozoic era. Look at the depictions of the oceans and continents. Few people remember that it was at the beginning of the Mesozoic that the single supercontinent Pangaea split into parts, northern and southern, and then cracked again, forming the western and eastern continents. By the end of the Mesozoic, about 100 million years ago, they had taken on the appearance familiar to us today. At the same time, ocean currents formed, and for the first time the planet's climate became stable and warm. The Earth turned into an Edenic garden. It is quite possible that among the rich flora and diverse fauna, the first humans appeared. One of the most convincing pieces of evidence for this theory was the discoveries made in the Gobi Desert. In the early 20th century, the American scientist Roy Chapman Andrews found dinosaur bones and eggs in the Bayanzag Canyon, which belonged to creatures that lived here during the Mesozoic era. And a few years later, Russian researchers and the well-known writer Ivan Yefremov, during a paleontological expedition, unearthed in the same cultural layer of the Bayanzag Canyon the skeleton of a human about 20 feet, 6 meters tall. This discovery once again proved that giant humans lived on Earth at the same time as dinosaurs. But the planet is constantly growing. As is known, its radius increases by 1 inch, 2-3 centimeters per year. Along with this, gravity increases and plants and animals become smaller and smaller. If we assume that the civilization of giants still exists on our planet, then the only place they could inhabit is the seas and oceans. After all, according to Archimedes' principle, gravity is much weaker there. It is believed that about 100,000 years ago, the civilization of giants perished as a result of a global cataclysm on the planet. However, it seems that some of them went underwater and have been living there to this day. Myths from different peoples tell us that before humanity, several civilizations existed on Earth: the land of Mu, Lemuria, Hyperborea, and Atlantis. All these peoples were giants, ranging in height from 16 to 65 feet, from 5 to 20 meters. On the one hand, we have real evidence of their existence, huge bones that archaeologists find. But on the other hand, even a schoolchild knows that people who are about 15 or 33 feet tall, 5 or 10 meters, would not be able to live under Earth's gravity. Gravity would kill them. If you increase the size of a modern human, for example, by 10 times, their weight will increase in proportion to their volume, that is, by about 1,000 times. This means the person would become 1,000 times heavier. The volume of muscle mass would not be able to cope with such weight, and a person of that size would hardly be able to walk on their own. This is confirmed by many years of medical observation. The tallest people in human history suffered from a whole range of serious illnesses and rarely lived past 40 years old. The American Robert Pershing Wadlow was 8 feet 11 inches tall, 2 meters 72 centimeters. He kept growing throughout his life and died at the age of 22 from a brain hemorrhage. The Ukrainian Leonid Stadnik was 8 feet 3 inches tall, 2 meters 53 centimeters, and weighed over 440 pounds, 200 kilograms. He died at the age of 44 from a stroke. And finally, the tallest person in the world, Fyodor Makhnov. His height was 9 feet 4 inches, 2 meters 85 centimeters. This Russian giant lived at the end of the 19th century. He was known for his incredible physical strength. However, he too could not escape an early death. Fyodor lived to be only 34 years old. As you can see, even the tallest person on Earth doesn't reach 10 feet, 3 meters. It seems that 15-foot giants whose bones archaeologists are constantly finding could have existed only in one case, if Earth's gravity had been significantly lower, and such a period really did exist. Just imagine that during the Mesozoic era, the Earth was almost twice as small. It was during this period that the planet was inhabited by giant lizards and dinosaurs. It is believed that humans appeared much later. On the top of Eindara Hill, on a flat white platform, there are 3 giant footprints. According to one version, they belong to a deity in whose honor the temple was built. But researchers have come to a different conclusion. It's hard to believe, but the length of the footprint was 3 feet, 90 centimeters. This means the creature could have been up to 33 feet, 10 meters tall. Who could have left such tracks? Experts suggest that these were people who lived on Earth long before modern humans. The Great Rift Valley of East Africa. It is only 62 miles wide. On both sides, there are powerful African volcanoes. Here, at the foot of what is now the extinct Mount Meru, the oldest Cro-Magnon sites have been found. 70,000 years ago, lava was boiling in the craters of these volcanoes. It was this lava that warmed the air inside the valley, allowing humans to survive during the volcanic winter. In this sanctuary, only 2,000 Homo sapiens survived, and they became the ancestors of modern humans. Where do the giant skulls and skeletons of giants come from? In 1978, during excavations of a hill in Ohio, archaeologists discovered an unusually large human skull. It could be worn on the head like a helmet. And while such discoveries are extremely rare today, in the 19th century and the first half of the 20th century, the remains of giants were found frequently. The remains of giant humans are scattered across the planet. A 40-foot skeleton, 12 meters, was recently found in India, but this discovery, like the previous ones, was once again labeled a hoax by officials from the scientific community. Why? Many artifacts are still, even now, carefully destroyed. An archaeological war is ongoing, erasing the traces of ancient civilizations. Lemuria, Atlantis, the Empire of Rama. The civilization of Osiris in the Gobi Desert. Tiwanaku, Maya, Orowe, and the Kingdom of the Sun in the Pacific Ocean. Where have they all gone? And where have their predecessors disappeared to? The Bible states that initially humans were immortal. Such a message has been preserved in the legends of Native American tribes, African peoples, and Australian Aborigines. Biologists and gerontologists have determined that from 18 to 25 years old, a person is still growing. That is, the final growth stage of modern humans occurs over a 7-year period. For ancient humans, this period was much longer. Using special formulas and the method of proportions, scientists calculated that giants with a height of 177 feet, 54 meters, had an average lifespan of 100,000 years. According to the philosophical works of Helena Blavatsky, the Titans existed for nearly 10 million years. This is more than 100 generations. By comparison, our civilization has existed for around 50 generations. Judging by fairy tales and epic tales, some of the Titans survived even until our time. Slavic names like Gorania, Vertigor, Svetogor, and Vervidub suggest their enormous height and strength. 60-foot people, 18 meters, likely Atlanteans, lived for 10,000 years. The lifespan of 20-foot berets was more than 3,000 years. Biblical characters lived for around 1,000 years. If we put all this together, it becomes clear that the Earth existed hundreds of millions of years ago. But how could it have originated in ancient times? It was once thought that Earth was a cosmic sanctuary, and we were the only intelligent life in the cosmos. Then it was discovered that in just the Milky Way there are about 130 billion planets and roughly the same number of stars. This means that the probability of extraterrestrial civilizations existing has drastically increased. The next step is simple: to create equipment capable of precisely determining the presence of a biosphere, hydrosphere, technosphere, and finally intelligence on distant planets. Therefore, it cannot be ruled out that sooner or later astronomers will acknowledge that space is densely populated. But was our planet always a galactic prison? And why did human degradation begin to occur? Why did the lifespan decrease, and is it related to the legend of the Anunnaki? For different representatives of cosmic civilizations who traveled vast distances across the universe in search of a suitable planet, Earth could have presented rich opportunities for enhancing life on it. But at the same time, the aliens may have had some evil intentions. At the very least, their presence ended in a terrible event with irreversible consequences. This is recounted in the ancient Indian epic, which, among other things, describes a war of the gods. Across the entire planet, more than 100 craters have been discovered, with an average size of 3 kilometers. There are two exceptions: 2 enormous craters, one with a diameter of 25 miles, 40 kilometers in South America, and the other with a diameter of 75 miles, 120 kilometers in South Africa. If they formed during the Paleozoic era 350 million years ago, as scientists believe, then nothing would have remained of them by now. David Icke claims that the moon was originally designed by a high-tech extraterrestrial race to shield our planet from meteorite impacts. But one day it was captured by other cosmic aliens, the Anunnaki, who then began to parasitize humans. Today, no one doubts that the moon's gravitational pull affects not only the world's oceans, but also human health and mood. The exacerbation of mental disorders is associated with the full moon, while heart diseases, immune system loss, and increased trauma are linked to the new moon. During a lunar eclipse, hormonal cycles in the body are disturbed and cognitive abilities weaken. And there may even come a state of indifference to everything around. David Icke claims that our life is similar to existence in the virtual reality of computer gamers. We are like being in a lunar matrix and are deprived of the vast amount of information from the universe. Even the magicians of ancient Mexico believed that long before the moon appeared, humans were perfect beings, sources of remarkable insights and profound knowledge. Does this mean that today humans have lost their amazing abilities? Their perception of the surrounding world is influenced by the moon, and they have become slaves to temptation. Numerous photographs taken by satellites are retouched by NASA employees if they capture images of UFOs. The number of flying objects has increased both on the moon and on Earth. But what's surprising is that UFOs no longer hide from people's eyes. They linger in the sky, observing what is happening. Last year, they were most frequently recorded in Russia, the United Kingdom, and Ireland. Steven Spielberg's film Close Encounters of the Third Kind is considered by many experts to be almost prophetic. Impossible things are happening everywhere. Missing squadrons are flying without crews. In the Gobi Desert, there is a ship that previously disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. Air Defense Services are recording UFOs. Astronomers are determining the location of the presumed contact with extraterrestrials. And the US government keeps everything classified. Doesn't this remind you of what's happening today, these days?